Okay, so how to choose your theory. All right, this is my list of 10. You're going to see this list in every single lecture I deliver. Okay, remember last week I talked about it. Hang in there. Okay, every week you're going to see it with me. Unless we've got a guest lecturer, in which case you won't see it at all. All right, so this is the bit we're doing. We're doing step 3 is what we're doing today. We're establishing our ontology and our epistemology, because the paradigm you choose tells people what your ontology is. It tells people what your epistemology is. So if you say to someone, I'm a positivist, then they know immediately that you believe there is one truth, you believe that you're going to find it. They know that. They know that you're going to do it through an experiment. All right? So they already know all this stuff, right? So that's how you do it. But how you actually choose your theory, so for example, I'm a post-structuralist in my thinking and the way I perceive the world. I'm quite happy to say that. But in my thesis, I'm doing constructionism, mainly. All right? So in my other work, I actually do interpretivist stuff. So I personally, my personal beliefs are completely different from my theoretical paradigms. What you have to do is when you have your problem, it will suggest a theory to you. So if your question is, if you're looking at the world around you and you look at a problem and you say, well, why are those people at the bottom of a particular hierarchy? Well, then you're looking at power, so you're looking at critical lists, yeah? Because you're interested in power, why are they at the bottom, are they at the bottom, how do you establish they're at the bottom? You're not asking, so you've got to be, what your problem is will dictate to you what your theory is, okay? When you've worked out what your problem is, you're going to go and do your literature review. So when you do your literature review, you're going to come across other people who've looked at your problem. So one of the things that when we're looking at research problems, you've either got a problem about something the way it is, which is what we call an empirical problem. Okay, I've got a problem with the way this is what my research is. You might have what they call a theoretical problem, right? This is what my problem is. I've gone and done my literature review. Everybody else has done this through a constructionist lens. I'm going to do it through a post-structural lens. So everybody else has not looked at your problem through that framework, so you're going to look at it through that framework. But that's what your literature review tells you. It tells you what already exists. Yeah? So you might be interested in doing, this is why English literature still exists, right? Because you can do The Wizard of Oz from a whole range of different perspectives. Okay, and so you might find that when you do your literature review, everybody's looked at The Wizard of Oz, and God knows there's so much feminist literature about The Wizard of Oz. You know, there's so much of that, but no one's actually looked at interpretivism. So, you know, you might go out and interview a bunch of 15-year-old boys about what they think about The Wizard of Oz to get a different interpretation. So there's all sorts of different ways you can do that. What you're after is, and the third way a problem exists is methodological. So when you've done your literature review, the method that other people used, you call into question. So you say, look, they looked at it this way and it's a stupid way to look at the problem. I'm going to show you why. They did discourse analysis. It should have been interviews, and here's how why it is. Okay? But what you're after in your research is originality. And that's actually really easy to do. People think it's really hard to do, but it's not. It's so easy to do. Okay? You've just got to look at the problem from a slightly different way. This is the social sciences, right? We can look at problems in all sorts of millions of different ways. And you just need that one difference. And so a framework helps you find originality. Your paradigm will start, you know, what theorist you choose will help you work out what original aspect you've got. And also the point is if you're a positivist, you have to choose a positivist framework, which means you are doing an experiment. You cannot do it any other way. In the social sciences, that doesn't exist. Okay? That doesn't mean you can't have a hypothesis and then prove or disprove a hypothesis, but that means you're playing in the post-positivist space. All right? So it's just about being careful about understanding what your ontology epistemology is, how many truths are you looking for, how are you looking for them, and then understanding what theory you're going to apply in there. And all of this combines together to give us credibility. All right? Social sciences are seen as kind of the poor cousin in the research world. They're just making that shit up. All right? And if you read some research, and this is what I want you to learn in this unit, if you read some research, they really are making it up. Okay? And that's really concerning because it's getting published. But it's true. Like, I have read some journal articles and just gone, no, that's no. All right? And I want you to have those skills to be able to do that. And a part of that is, you know, oh, I'm doing, you know, a constructivist framework and I'm doing Weber and blah, blah, blah. Therefore, this is true. Okay, you can't conclude that something's true if you're doing constructionism, right? You can't. So it will start to tell you that somebody's not telling you something true. And if someone's doing a criticalist framework but hasn't talked about power anywhere in the article, then that's a bit odd as well. So you'll start to feel something's odd by what the framework is. Okay, I think I'm not doing too bad on time. Okay, so this is the table. I found this table, and this dude has got a YouTube video that goes with this, which I found a bit long. But I like YouTube, sorry, I really do. It's great. But I do like this table because what this table clearly shows you is how one links to the other. So he's got the paradigm, then he tells you what the ontology is, then he tells you what the epistemology is, then he tells you the theoretical framework, okay? Then he talks about what methodology you would put in there and what the method is. Because remember, methodology and method are two different things. Method is about how am I getting the data, methodology is how I'm thinking about that data. All right, this returns us back to that data, information, knowledge, wisdom. Okay? So this process here is getting my data, this is turning my data into information, this is turning my information into knowledge. Moving it from here to here is turning it into wisdom. It does flow. All right? So you can actually see all this stuff. Now, obviously not a lot of this you're actually going to be familiar with, some of the language. That's okay. We can talk about it in tutorials next week. All right? One thing I do want to point out here is that the language in the paradigms is different. So I use different language to what Patel uses. And that's okay. And I'm going to get to why that's okay in a minute, because it's social science research and everything's okay. Everything goes. All right? So subjectivism is what Patel has called posts. I just call them the posts. He calls them subjectivism because it's all subjective. And that returns to the whole, you know, you can say that the water supply is Coca-Cola when it's really not. All right? And you know, I'm a bit of a supporter of postmodernism and it gets a really bad rap. So I'm trying to, you know, do stuff. But anyway. So, but you can literally see here the methods, how you would go about getting your data, how you'd think about your data and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, nice little table and it shows you quite clearly how one leads to the other.